All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to AI in Kentucky Public Libraries. Today we have three presenters. My name is Lauren Abner. I'm the State E-Rate Coordinator for the Department for Libraries and Archives. Today I'm taking a little sidestep and talking some about technology instead of broadband discounts, which you might know me from. We also have Brian Lashbrook from Daviess County Public Library and Luke Waltrip from Muhlenberg County Public Libraries. So before we get into all of their good content about things their libraries are doing with AI, I did want to talk a little bit about some survey results. So over the summer, in August, KDLA conducted a survey to ask about your opinions on, AI, how comfortable you are, what you're using it for, and I thought I'd just go ahead and share those. So first question was, have you used AI tools in your library work? And we have a small portion, 8%, that said they use it regularly, another 28% occasionally, 29% have tried once or twice, but a good third of the respondents have never used AI. And this survey went out to all the different listservs for directors, for adult services, staff, youth services staff, bookmobile outreach, and then of course the Kentucky Tech listserv. So for the question, how do you use AI in your work? More than half of respondents indicated that they use it for drafting or editing written content. So in the comments, a lot of people mentioned social media and grant writing, also some creation of policies and procedures, followed by programming ideas or activity planning rather. And then maybe creating training materials. Unfortunately, most of a good portion of the responses were other, and I didn't realize that Microsoft Forms wouldn't let people type in a response for other. So we did miss some things. And now, having worked with Luke and Brian on this presentation, I realized I should have listed something about coding or other IT tasks with AI, since we're doing a whole presentation that talks about that. So for AI tools that have been used, far and away the most popular response is ChatGPT, which is no surprise. The surprise to me was that a lot of you have used Canva AI tools. I didn't even have this on my radar to ask, but I actually used ChatGPT to help come up with some of the questions, and it suggested Canva AI tools. So that's why that was included. And then, of course, we've got Google Gemini and Microsoft Copilot. So comfort levels with AI roughly correspond with the people who said that they're familiar with AI. So again, 9% are very comfortable. That pretty well matches the percentage of people who say they use AI regularly in their work. Then we've got 18% somewhat comfortable, 25% kind of in the middle. But then looks like, almost half of you are, at least somewhat or very uncomfortable with AI. So we're hoping to change that. I don't know that we're here to evangelize and say everybody has to use AI all the time, but I think my co-presenters would agree that we at least need to know about it, even if we're not going to use it. And then concerns about AI, not a surprise for a library crowd. We're all pretty well concerned about accuracy and misinformation, ethical use of AI, privacy and data security, and then impact on job roles. And then what would help you use AI more effectively at work? So 30% of you said training or workshops. 29% said clear policies or guidelines. Do want to let you know that library directors heard about the need for AI policies during a presentation at the annual directors meeting. So I've put that bug in their ear. So hopefully some policies or guidance will be coming down from administration for you guys. And then 27% said examples of how others use AI. And that is entirely the reason that we're putting on this presentation today. All right, so that is it for me for now. We will have kind of questions and answers at the end. For now, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Brian Lashbrook.
Okay. Let me share my video, my presentation here. All right. So I'm going to talk about practical use cases that I have used myself for statistics gathering, creating websites, server management, etc. My name is Brian Lashbrook. I'm Technology Manager at Daviess County Public Library. I created this image using the image playground on my iPhone. And it's supposed to be me battling a giant robot, but it kind of just made us look like bros hanging out, and kind of look like Gary Shandling here. I don't know why. Okay. So when I was creating this, I decided to, why not put my presentation into Copilot? Copilot is included in the latest PowerPoint. So I added my some points, and the prompt is right here. 3 ways to approach AI: treat it like a ball pit and jump in, fix existing material or create a plan. And this is what it came up with. Not really the way I speak, but it did make a killer design there with some robots. So this is the one I chose from Designer. So there's 3 ways that I see that you can approach AI: create a plan to achieve a goal, fix or improve existing materials, or just jump in and play. So I went with the theme that the image playground generated, and I rolled with it. Me and the robot are friends now, and I put the tool I used and the prompt here. So now the reason I wanted to jump right in is to just give you something to walk away with, and to see that you don't need to be afraid to do this. If I can give you something simple, a task, you might try it today. If I could say start planning, if you're like me, you're going to put it off until the time is right. You can't do it on Tuesday because it's Taco Tuesday. Wednesday is what you're reading Wednesday. Thursday is Throwback Thursday. So this you can do in a few minutes. The prompt I entered was create a library reference question counter. So if you're like us, and I know you are, you count reference questions, and you may have a spreadsheet that says types of questions. You basically just tick them off. Not tick them off, but you tally up the questions. So I asked it to make an app with a button for each type of question. All you have to do is click the button, it'll tally them up, export them to a spreadsheet, and print them. In less than a minute, I was using Gemini, in less than a minute it created this application. Sure that's the right one, yeah. So it created this. The print didn't work, but the buttons worked great, and I didn't do any coding. I just asked that question. I didn't modify it. I could continue to ask it questions to improve it. I didn't do any of that. This is what was created within less than a minute. And it's a web page that I can still access. It's in my chat history with Gemini. The problems I found with it, I couldn't share data, and I tried different methods to try to share data so it'd be updated in real time with other people. But if you had different people with accounts create their own counter, they could export it to a spreadsheet. You could type in what exactly the button should be, and everybody would have be counting the same information. So this is really simple to do. It's not robust, but it looks pretty good. Let's see here. Just a second. Okay. Every time you enter the prompt, it'll be the same. This is the exact same prompt. This is what it'll be different. This is the exact same prompt. Gave me something different. A few times I've put in the prompt, and it did create a nice PDF printout. But I use different prompts, and these are some of the ones I've done in the past. It handles it in different ways. Here's one that does dates. So it'll store the data in a spreadsheet in Google. The next option is making repairs and improvements. And the robot, I think, is holding some tools for me there. So I downloaded a PowerShell script from the internet, and I was going to use it to just monitor Hyper-V services. I wanted to make sure they were running on server, and there's so many things you could do with PowerShell over the network. So I, pasted it into a notepad, saved it as a PowerShell file, ran it, and I got all these indecipherable errors. So first thing I did was just open Copilot. We have Microsoft 365 for business or nonprofit, and so we have Copilot available to us. And I just pasted the error directly into Copilot, hit enter. The next thing I did was input the script, and it asks you if you can. It says you can upload files. You can do text files, but since this is a PowerShell, for security reasons, it did not let me upload the PowerShell. So I just took a shortcut, copied the code, pasted it in. It went through it. It said, oh, I see what the error is. And then it says, thank you for sharing your script. And then it made some fixes to it. It doesn't fix it immediately all the time. If you give it a few times, though, and you keep copying error codes in, it will fix it. And I also it gives you prompts that you may want to use. And so I just started selecting its prompts that it gave me on how to improve it. I said, yes. Well, the first thing was correct the script. And then it asked, do you want a GUI interface for it? Do you want email notifications? You want to save your information? All this stuff. And it kept adding functionality to it until it was a nice little program. I'll show you that in a second. But first, there's a caveat. You can, when it generates the script for you, the fixed script, it may not generate the whole thing. And I think that's probably like a processing savings type feature. So if you're not familiar with the script, you could say generate the entire script. And you could say generate the script for download. But here, generate a script for download. I downloaded it, and it didn't work. I opened the code and looked. It said, "Oh, this is abbreviated as like." So I had to say, "No, generate the entire script." And here's the finished product. I even had to generate a screenshot. So without even running the application, Copilot generated a screenshot for me of what it looked like, and it was very specific. This one is actually a screenshot of the application, but it did a good job of generating what it looked like. So another thing that I had to do is, and I know you all are familiar with spreadsheets and all kinds of formulas to get stats. We have an old wireless controller, works great, but it never has had good statistics. You can see statistics by day, but for a month long, it's not good at all. So I figured out I could go into the logs. I can select the type of transaction I wanted the logs for, which is authentication. So I would get the authentications for every day, and through a long process, I would download those once a week because it didn't save them more than a week. I would import them into this custom spreadsheet that formatted the columns. I would filter it by day or month. Then I would copy the data, paste it into another spreadsheet because I had to manipulate just the values. I couldn't do that in the original one because they had formulas in them. I delete a cell, and then I'd remove duplicates, and then I'd get my answer. So sometimes I'd have to watch my own. I made a video on how to do it. Sometimes I have to go back and watch my own video to remember how to do it month to month. So I thought, well, why can't I, use Python to do the calculation part? And so I found some scripts and some good information on Python, and it's a simple language that's easy to use. And if you're interested in coding, it's the one that Raspberry Pi uses. It's a great place to start, and it does a lot of cool stuff. So I created a script, and I had to run it in command line, and I had to put the files in a specific directory, and it all worked. Well, after a while, ChatGPT came out. I was like, well, why don't I just paste this in there and tell it, or ask it questions about how to improve it, how to do a interface, and all that. And eventually, I could paste all my code into it, and I kept improving on it. So now all I do is I open the program. Oh, I also encapsulated it into a application. So it's I use a Mac, and it's just a .app file. I can open it, but it also created an executable file for Windows. And I open it. It prompts me with last month. Don't have to do anything there. One thing with this interface that Python uses, it can be a little flaky. If you try this out and you find that you can't click OK or anything like that, move the window just a little bit, and it'll start responding to you. Hopefully that's fixed now. I haven't revisited this in a while. So I hit OK. It asked me where the folder is, where all my files are. Hit open, and then next thing it does, it exports. I covered this up here. It exports the file, the spreadsheet, and it has the name of the month and the date, and it strips out all the extraneous information, and it creates just a row of days. So it gets the MAC address, one MAC address per day, so I know how many users have been on it for the entire month, and then I have the count here. I can make this even easier. I could automate it all. And if you do any kind of downloading as part of your dealing with websites, I highly recommend looking up Puppeteer and using Google Chrome and their dev tools. There's an experimental feature called Recorder. Recorder, you go on a website, use Recorder, you just do whatever your action is. You go in, push buttons, download stuff. It records it into a Puppeteer script. And it's a little too much to go into here, but it's awesome. So I have the Puppeteer script running on its own a few times a week. It downloads stats. All I do is once a month I open this app and export my spreadsheet. So the robots are duplicating now, so it's starting, and my image is starting not to look like me anymore. So with planning a project, I wanted to keep it simple because I can get analysis paralysis, and I can it's intimidating to start a project. So I just broke it down to 3 steps. What is your prior experience? What do you know? What do you want, your expected outcome? And what are your resources? What do you have available to you? So what do you know? Do you know a coding language? And do you know a framework? Like if you know JavaScript, you might know React, which is taking over the world right now. If you know PHP, you might know Laravel, which is a nice framework. And a framework is basically tools built on top of a language that has components and functions built into it that you commonly need, so you don't have to build everything yourself. Is there a language that you want to learn? If you're going to start today, I would suggest Python, JavaScript, or the Laravel framework, React framework for JavaScript. But if there's something you want to learn, AI is great about explaining things. It'll some of them tell you what it's doing, like what it's thinking, and why it is doing it the way it is. And you could say, if it creates something, you could say, generate a comprehensive user guide, and it'll do it. I mean, it's really come a long way. It's pretty amazing. When I was planning this presentation, I basically went down a rabbit hole. So my presentation was like last minute because I did so much research, and I joined the Singularity or whatever. And you could just say, let AI decide. Like what I did with Gemini, I just said, create this, and it did it. What is your expected outcome? So how easy does it have to be to use? Do you have to train other people? If not, just create something that's ad hoc, that it takes a few steps that only you know. It's perfectly fine. It'll save you some time, at least a little bit of time. You can add on to it later. If you're going to have multiple people use it, you want it to be a little more user-friendly, and you want to consider a web application with a data source. But like I said, there are tools out there that'll do all that for you. So don't overthink, what my data source is. It'll tell you what the best source is. But if you know something already, stick with what you know. And how much do you want it to do? So you may have a project that you want it to, let's say a suggestion for purchase product. You want it to store the suggestions because you want it to know how many suggestions the user has submitted. You want to know who's bought something or rejected. That has a lot of different components, so you may want to be specific about the different moving parts of it. Most of the time, though, you can start with something very simple and add on to it. That's most of my projects. I've incremented them until they're really robust. And the reason I say you may want to plan out a larger project is because AI may start you out with something that doesn't scale well. So if you tell it, you want to do multiple things, it'll find the best solution for you that's scalable. And next is, what are your resources? If your library uses Google Workspace, you might have access to Gemini. If it uses Microsoft 365, you have access to Copilot. All of these products have weird limitations, and I tried to figure them out. It's just I think they're just under development, and they limit your usage per day sometimes, and then they add a new limitation because so many people are using it, and it's, draining Lake Erie or something to cool off the AI. So it varies, and I couldn't really say specifically what your limitations are. If you have a budget, then you could get most AI products for less than $20 a month. Say you want to create something, and you're going to need many prompts, and you're going to have to keep going back to it to improving it. In a month, you could get something done. You think about the cost of software. That's a bargain. When I was doing this, I realized how much Warp AI could actually do, and so I paid for a subscription. And then after I started doing that, I got a year subscription because I was using it so much that I was running out of prompts. I just couldn't stop tweaking the software to make it better. But if you don't have a budget, you can do quite a bit without a budget. The free tiers are great. So far, my experience with Gemini in the workspace, Google has this tendency to lock down features out of nowhere. You don't know when it's going to happen. The free product actually is pretty good. I would recommend using it first because you're going to run into limitations with your work provided Google Workspace. ChatGPT has Claude has a free tier, and it limits you. Most of them limit you by time. So use it, you have to wait a day. If you run out of prompts, you have to wait a day to use it again. But you can skip between different ones. And it's best to stay with one, of course, one cook. But if you skip different ones, you can probably do okay. So getting started, Anthropic Claude by Anthropic is just probably the creme de la creme for coding. It is the coder's AI, and it does really well. And if you're concerned about ethical issues, Anthropic is one of the last AI companies that's holding out a once oversight of AI. It's one of the last companies that is actually demanding it. There's Google Gemini, Google Notebook LM, Microsoft Copilot, and ChatGPT. Google Notebook LM is amazing for understanding complex things. You could, one of the things I did was I uploaded Polaris's API, or I just gave it a link to Polaris's API script, which is just this giant document of a bunch of different things. And I created a podcast from that script. It was kind of awkward, but it was also amazing. And it explains stuff in relatively good way. It did a good job. And also, if you have, let's say, a year's worth of stats, you can upload the files and tell it to give you highlights, like trends. I did several years like that. It gives me trends and what's going on. And it pulls from the library world too, and to give reasons, because it has all this information at its fingertips. Also uploaded this presentation at this address. I want to add more stuff to it, just experiments and things that I'm working on. But you can look at my GitHub and see other stuff too. And these, I think I'm okay on time. These are traps to avoid. And you're going to run into them. Just know that it happens. You're not crazy. Degeneration, it's a decline in the results over time. Degenerative AI, it happens. It quits giving you good answers. It doesn't always happen, but it can happen. And that's when you maybe take a break or end the conversation and start again. Goal drift. It will lose the plot. Basically, it'll forget what you told it in the beginning or the way you've been directing it, and it'll start going a different way. Context sensitivity. I've had this happen with Copilot several times. Maybe Gemini. Actually, maybe it's Gemini. I tell it to fix a problem, it'd give me a solution. I'd say, no, this doesn't work. It'd give me the same solution. And I'd say, for the love of God, please fix this problem. And it would say, oh, you're right. I'm sorry. And it would fix it. So don't be afraid to yell at your AI, at least for now. Trust but verify. It doesn't always know best. It's only as good as the information it's fed. Sometimes the information it's using is outdated. If you know better, then tell it that this is not what I want. Tell it exactly what you expect it to do. And, eventually, usually it will respond and say, you're absolutely right. You're awesome. These are the tools I use. Warp Terminal is just the best. You can use it. It's got a limited amount of free uses. If you just use it for free, it's great. It'll suggest AI prompts, and you could just type in what you want it to do, and you're on the command line on your computer, and it will tell you what it'll do. It'll scan your files and tell you what's going on. You could open your prompt in a directory, even with some Word documents or PDFs, and it'll summarize them for you. But another great thing about it, just as a terminal, which is basically your command prompt, it will let you edit the commands without having to backspace or delete stuff. It'll let you go in and cut and paste in your command prompt. It will also suggest the correct commands that you'll want to run. It'll suggest the next command that you may want to run, and that's you don't even pay for that. That's part of it. So I can't. It also uses all of the major LLMs, and you can set it to efficient, cost efficient. You could set it to auto. You can set it to Claude. You could set it to anything. It's amazing. GitHub. If you're starting to create something, learn about Git. There's a few simple commands that you can do. It's like an undo for coding. So you can create a Git repo. You can share it on GitHub, but you don't need GitHub. You could just do it on your computer, create a Git repo, and just as you change things, just save them by using Git commit, and you can go back. It's a lifesaver. It's like the undo button for coding. Docker, that's a whole other thing, but again, if you use AI, you don't have to know Docker. You just say, create this Docker. Docker is great, and I run a lot of websites off of Docker, but you could run it on your desktop, and you could use it as an application. You could run a website on your desktop, and basically it's a little virtual machine. You can make a virtual web server, and it's very efficient. But it creates a website. You open it in your browser, and you can do almost anything. It's amazing. If you're doing Python, I recommend JetBrains PyCharm Community Edition. It's free. I've been using PHP Storm for PHP and Laravel development. Like I say, Claude AI and they also have Claude Code, which you need a subscription for, but I would recommend just using Warp. And then Google Notebook LM. When I'm trying to understand what's going on in a program or something, it's just amazing. And thank you. And that guy's much fitter than me, but that's it.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. That was really, really interesting. Let me check the chat. Audience question, regarding that reference question counter, how many staff at your library use it?
Nobody yet. It was my example for creating a one-click solution. So I haven't proposed to anybody yet, but it would be a manager's decision to get them to use it probably.
Gotcha. All right, and just wanted to have a little plug. I was really impressed that you were able to get more life out of that old wireless controller. But if your library needs a new wireless controller, they are eligible for E-rate discounts. So please feel free to contact me so I can help you with the competitive bidding and application process. And that ends the E-rate portion of our presentation. All right, well, let's go ahead and pass things over to Luke if you'd like to get your screen share started. And be thinking about questions, guys. If we've got some time at the end, we will have audience questions or a few ones that I have planted. Yes, Tara, it is always about E-rate.
All right. I'm Luke from Muhlenberg County. I'm usually more behind the scenes, so I apologize up front as I kind of bumble through this. This is my personal AI usage that I have done with the library. First up, a few things to keep in mind when thinking about AI, what it can be used for. Remember, it is only as good as the prompts or the questions that you give it. The information is not real time. AI is trained on pre-existing knowledge and won't be great at things involving current events, but it is great at stuff that doesn't change much. So like coding or writing in general. Third, AI can make your job easier, but for the most part, it's not going to do it for you, at least not yet. Most jobs still require a human to do it, at least in part. AI is not going to start putting barcode stickers on books anytime soon. So, and last, AI can make stuff up. It's going to lie. It's called hallucination in the AI world, but it's lying. So double check the work always. One of the more recent uses I've used AI for was a makerspace survey that we did. We were exploring community interest in that potential project. So, what equipment are people actually interested in using, how often, what time of day, etc. I was then going to present this stuff to the board, so it wasn't just going to be for me to look at. So after the public survey was done, I dropped that spreadsheet of the results into ChatGPT, and I started just asking it for various tables and charts based on that data. So a little background on this part. In the survey, I asked the same basic question 3 times. I said, what are you most interested in? What is your next highest interest? And what is your third choice? That kind of thing. The answers, the options that I gave them for all 3 questions were the same. I just wanted to combine them all into kind of a weighted list. And can Excel do this? Absolutely. And a few years ago, that's what I would have done. And if you're comfortable with Excel and you're efficient in your time using it, then go for it. But I found this much faster, and I'll walk you through exactly how I used it. First, I said, let's create a ranked list popularity. Column I is worth 3 points, J is 2 points, K is 1 point. ChatGPT responded with exactly what you'd expect. It gave the whole list, but I'm just showing a little bit of it here. Let's create another column with the frequency of the response. And so it did that, showing the raw popularity of each choice. And then I said, okay, well, let's add another column that shows the enthusiasm of the response. So first choice indicates they're most enthusiastic about that. Okay, so here it gets a little complicated, but it gave me a few different options, one of which mapped directly to that weighted list of ranked popularity, so I didn't really need that. The other was what it called an enthusiasm ratio, which AI described like this. We can measure enthusiasm by emphasizing how often an option was chosen as the top 3-point choice, while still accounting for overall frequencies. Here's a simple method we could use. Frequency counts how often it was chosen in any slot. The top choice count is how many times it appeared as the top choice, and enthusiasm score can be defined as the top choice count divided by frequency. This would give us a ratio that shows how strong towards that item as a favorite versus just the secondary option. I said, show me. It did, and it was just a bunch of decimals. I mean, it was added to that previous table, and it was getting kind of ugly and complicated. So I said, I needed something more visual. So yeah, this is better. It's not just a list anyway, but it's still kind of hard to read. So I wanted to clean it up a bit and get it what I actually wanted it to be. So I gave it a series of requests. This is just iterative in a chat. I wanted to change those X's to circles. It did that. And leave off the ones that only had 1 response. And for the labels, leave off anything between the parentheses. It's getting better, but we still need to increase the legibility. So put some extra space between the label and the circle. And we had a few write-ins of people in the other category. So I asked AI to decide if any of those would fit into any of the pre-existing choices. It suggested that gardening, flower arranging, stained glass work, things like that could fit under the broader category of other crafting and hobby tools. It suggested creating a new category for electronics to encompass a few other write-ins. And lastly, it said include the photography and media editing in with the recording studio, since that software all kind of ties in together and probably use the same computer anyway.
Hey, Luke, sorry to interrupt you. The audio is breaking up a little bit. Do you have any other maybe apps open on your computer that you can close?
Close that. Is this sounding any better?
That's a little better, thanks.
Okay. All right, so notice on this chart, it does have the other crafting and hobby tools on there twice, right there and there. And it's kind of overlapping with those others, so we wanted to fix that. So let's drop off those doubles and any remaining one-off choices that didn't fit the broader category, since we're not going to really be focusing on that anyway. And I wanted it to divide it into median lines. And so it did all that. The upper right being broad and enthusiastic, lower right is broad and neutral, upper left was niche and passionate, and bottom left was low engagement. I asked it to rename the title, so all those changes appear on this version. It is much better. It is easy to read if you know what you're looking at. But because everybody doesn't process data the same way, I felt this was one of the more important parts of the survey. I wanted to show it in a different format, even if it wasn't as useful to me. So here's the same data, just presented in a different view. To create this one, I just said use that same original data, but give me a bar graph that shows the frequency and weighted points and the activity choice along the bottom alphabetically, and the raw number on the top of the bar. So same information, just a different viewpoint for different people. So another question we had on that same survey, this is going to show the AI's potential shortcomings, is a question about zip codes. We had, I wanted to verify we were getting an accurate representation of the county while excluding people outside of the county. Honestly, I thought this would be an easy one, just a layup, since the last one went so well. I gave ChatGPT a small image that I found online of a map of Muhlenberg with the zip codes. You see that image here. The text is kind of blurry, and I wanted it to make a cleaner version. So this is the image I gave it. None of the text was really legible, and this is what it gave me as the cleaned up version of that. All right, well, that looks somewhat familiar, but it is very messed up. First up, not a map. Second, these are barely even words. We have lever working and dishing cutter. So obviously I typed, what is this? Not a map at all. And it replied, you're right. That's a scatter plot image, isn't your Muhlenberg County map. What happened is I mistakenly generated a new visualization instead of enhancing the map you uploaded. If what you want is simply a cleaner, higher resolution version of the Muhlenberg County map with zip code boundaries and labels, I can regenerate it directly from your provided file in a higher resolution, keeping the map content intact, not replacing it with something else. So yeah, that sounds promising. So I told it to go ahead and give me that map. Okay, I'm not sure how familiar everyone here is with the general outline of Muhlenberg County, but I assure you it is not this. We do not have a region to our west named whatever that says. And I'm pretty sure zip code areas usually are, areas and not just a random line that connects to nothing. Well, surprisingly bad maps, which it replied, I hear you, maps are tricky here because I don't have direct GIS vector data to redraw them with full accuracy. If your goal is presentation quality maps, the best route is I can guide you to download the official zip boundary data from Muhlenberg County and generate a PNG that's infinitely scalable and perfectly crisp. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, at this point, ChatGPT gives me a link to something called the Tiger Line Shape Files from census.gov. It tells me exactly what file to download for that most recent year. It suggests creating a Python code to help extract the data from the United States full data. If you're not familiar at all with Python in general, it doesn't matter. AI is going to walk you through it. All you have to do is tell it that you don't know how to use Python and to go step by step. I'm not going to give you that entire sequence. It's a bunch of back and forth with code, and it gets kind of boring quick. But after some trial and error, and there were literal errors where I had to copy and paste it back into ChatGPT for it to solve, it spit out a map that I was looking for, this one. And then I wanted to just color it by zip code, the areas that had more than 0 responses on the survey. So in a roundabout way, yes, ChatGPT did eventually get there, but it was certainly not in the way that I expected it to. So that's just a example. The first example of the chart, it did like a chant. The map, not so much. To be fair, images aren't really ChatGPT's forte. I mean, the word chat is right there in the name. It can do images, and here I asked it to create a photorealistic image of a librarian from Kentucky as an example. It gave me this. And yeah, if you don't look closely, that's a pretty believable Kentucky librarian. But it's playing catch up for images and videos. It's not quite there. It can be used for fun, but really not for accuracy. Again, I have to say, at least not yet. Adobe Suite has integrated some AI tools that will help analyze an image and do various edits without much required from the end user. There are AI-specific tools such as Topaz AI, which will help speed up video editing. And I've used both of those. We had an old reel-to-reel from the 50s that we decided to digitize. I wanted to cut it into individual scenes so we could identify people and places in that reel. It was about a 50-minute video, and I wanted to chop it into like 10-second scenes. By hand, this would have taken forever. AI automated. It probably took hours, but I wasn't watching it. I wasn't babysitting it. I just said, go do it. And it had 300 short little video clips whenever it was done. I looked at some of them. They were exactly what I wanted. So now I take those short clips and I can either manually edit them in something like DaVinci Resolve or Adobe Premiere, or just have AI do it. I've tested it on stabilization and dust removal, color correction. It gets all those at least as good as I would. I can just queue it up and let it go, and it's not taking a very time-intensive project and making it maybe 5 minutes. I'm using it not to generate imagery. That's the important thing. The librarian photos, I don't really need those, but it's to assist getting an old film that is kind of degraded in quality into a state that is closer to the original quality. It's restoration, and it can handle that well. Again, remember those initial points. AI is an assistant. It still needs a human to guide it and to evaluate those results. And prompts are the key to getting quality results. If you're not good at generating prompts, just tell AI to act like the expert and to treat you as a complete beginner. Ask AI to provide you the prompts. Go step by step. So for example, if I'm looking to create a program with Native American subject, I might say something like, treat me like a beginner. You're the patient AI expert. I need help with prompts. I'm a library programmer doing a Native American program. Ask me questions one at a time to help me out. Don't go too fast. Awesome. I've got you. We'll go step by step, one question at a time. First step, what's the main thing you want help prompting for in the Native American program? Event ideas, lessons plans, exhibit text, marketing copy. I said, let's start with the crafting activity instructions. Right, to tailor the craft activity prompts, well, what age group are you planning for? And you get the idea. It's going to help you. It's going to walk you through it. Think of AI not as a replacement for jobs, as kind of an equalizer. It makes my poor coding abilities much better. It will make a team programmer better. It will make brainstorming easier, more productive. It can make PR writing easier, more effective. If someone's writing Python code, then you're not going to see much scalability by adding AI into it. So with that in mind, writing effective prompts for AI can be seen as a very useful skill that any directors out there might want to look at as a significant difference maker between similar candidates. So some other real quick examples. I know I'm going up against my time here, but
hey, Luke, before we carry on,
yeah.
We've got a few questions in the chat, if you don't mind.
Sure.
We'll stick with, let's see, let's go with how was the Native American program it came up with? Did it come up with something usable?
I didn't follow it much further than that because I am not actually a programmer, but it did seem like it was going in the right direction of something that I think would be entertaining to people.
Gotcha. So probably we need to use that trust but verify type strategy.
Correct, yeah.
Another question, what software did you use to split the video into individual scenes?
It's called Topaz AI, and they do have nonprofit versions, but you do have to pull some teeth to try to get to it.
Gotcha. All right. And then going back to when you were making or attempting to make the map, did you by any chance use the same prompts in another AI to kind of compare?
I didn't. No, after I got what I needed, I kind of dropped it because it was taking longer than I expected having to do those extra steps. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thanks for answering those. Carry on.
All right. So yeah, just a few other examples, things that I've used it for: to analyze historical and report data, determine the effectiveness of long-term variables. So if you change your story time, start time from 1 to 3 p.m. in 2023, you can ask it if that had any noticeable difference. So our door counters, they can be broken down into 30-minute increments. So I can see the foot traffic. I can see the increments in 30-minute increments of the checkouts and see if how the checkouts are being affected by story time moving, that sort of thing. Acquisition assistance based on checkouts and holds. So I've given it historical checkout data from Overdrive and current holds of patrons for our library, the various item lending models, the pricing, give it all that in one big old spreadsheet and help make purchasing decisions. So what gives the most bang for the buck? It can usually tell this $7 book with only 4 holds is still a better buy than the $40 one with 10 holds. There's more holds, but it costs more. It can make suggestions based on things not even on your radar. So this author is very similar to this other author that you have a lot of holds on. Maybe try getting that one. Staffing concerns. You can upload an employee work schedule, which shows when and where each employee is scheduled to work. You can give it the library event calendar and have it verify that you've got adequate staffing during times that it may get busy. You can give it individuals' roles. So you can say, okay, Michaela is a children's programmer, and so it knows that Michaela needs to be present at this location at this time because there's a program. And remember to tell AI its role and what you're hoping to accomplish up front. Remember that anything, it's all in the prompts, which aren't necessarily questions. We tend to think of AI as a thing we can ask questions and get answers. And yeah, it's going to work that way. But honestly, Google search is better if you have something you want to know. I find AI is best when you flip it, like we did with that Native American program, and have it asking us the questions and engaging us to do the work and that maybe we didn't even realize we were capable of doing. And that's all I have. So if there are any other questions.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Luke. While we're waiting to see if any questions come in, if you don't mind, go ahead and stop your share, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring up a few questions that I had, if I can. I think I'm having a little bit of a connectivity issue, unfortunately. So let's see here. Questions. Okay. So actually, I'm going to skip to, wait, there we go. I'm going to skip to this question. So this is for, Luke or Brian. How do you think AI will impact library work in the next 5 years?
This is Luke. I think it's just going to be kind of an iterative thing. It's going to be world shattering. If anybody was working in the libraries in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we started getting card catalogs digitized, it didn't mean that we got rid of card catalogs, and it didn't mean that things got faster. It just opened up new avenues. So now people can search your card catalog online, and instead of having to call the library, they can place holds online instead of having to do it the other way. It's just going to be adding new features to things that already exist.
Excellent. Brian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think you can see where its strengths are as it develops. And like Google kind of limited reference questions, I think AI is going to really impact readers' advisory because it's able to analyze like Novelist does now. It's guided by librarians, but I feel that's going to be an AI driven resource.
Gotcha. All right, another question I'm going to skip over because we kind of heard about some of the AI fails already. So I'm going to skip that question. Do you have any favorite sources for learning about AI or technology in general, like YouTube channels, podcasts, newsletters, etc.?
For technology in general, I visit TechCrunch as a website. They do a whole lot on AI. Wired Magazine, their website is behind a paywall, but if you have Kentucky Libraries Unbound, then you have it in your magazine section. And MIT News has, it's more deep learning stuff, but it has some good articles on there as well, and they update it pretty regularly about AI.
Excellent. Brian, do you have any suggestions?
There are several things I follow on Apple News, like Wired, and TechCrunch is good. Boing Boing is good. Asking AI about AI, it really talks it up for you. So it's its biggest promoter.
All right. Okay, excellent. Trisha was just kind of typing in the chat to repeat those. We don't have a lot of time left, so I'm going to skip to what, in my opinion, is the most important question for this presentation. And that is Skynet going to kill us? Take it away, boys.
Yes.
It is probable, but there is other options. It could be, a benevolent robot god instead of this robot killer.
Could be. All right. Well, I hope that was all right for you, Terminator fans. I don't know if you're like me, and I probably watched Terminator 50 times because it was always airing on cable in the 90s. So thanks for playing along with that question.
That's my Wi-Fi network name, Skynet. So.
All right, well, we're at the end of our presentation, so thank you so much to Luke and Brian for taking the time to show us all these different ways that AI can be used. Hopefully this will inspire some other libraries to try some different things. If you've got questions about this presentation or you want to do E-rate stuff, of course, you can reach out to me. And the earlier part of the slides have contact information for Luke and Brian, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind a few questions if you have them. All right, and we'll go ahead and